There is a place at the bottom of the world where the wind is not weather. It is a living force. It does not blow past you. It presses through you, finds the hollow places inside you, and reminds you with quiet violence that you are small, that you are a guest, that everything standing here has earned its right to stand. And yet, life not only exists in this place, it explodes here, it screams here. It is stubborn and brilliant and strange in ways that will leave you changed if you are willing to pay attention. That place is Patagonia. Have you ever thought about what it actually takes to survive in a place where the wind routinely reaches 100 kilometers per hour and the temperature can drop from summer warmth to killing cold in a single afternoon? Most creatures would not even try. But the animals of Patagonia did not have the option to try or not. They were shaped here, by here, and for here. And the result is a collection of strategies, behaviors, and adaptations so precisely calibrated to this landscape that they look from the outside almost like magic. Here is something that will stop you in your tracks. Female pumas in Torres del Paine have been documented raising 2 and sometimes 3 cubs simultaneously, hunting alone across territories of up to 40 square miles, through winters that would stop most predators in their tracks. Researchers following these cats across multiple seasons have recorded mothers successfully bringing entire litters through to independence despite everything the Patagonian cold could throw at them. This is not luck. This is the product of millions of years of selective pressure producing an animal that is, in this specific landscape, close to perfect. Imagine this. You are standing on a beach in Argentina in early April. The morning is cold and the sea is grey. And then, without any warning, a 6-ton killer whale erupts from the water, slides 4 meters up the beach on the momentum of a single breaking wave, seizes a sea lion pup in its jaws, and rolls itself back into the surf before the next wave arrives. The entire event takes less than 10 seconds. You are breathing hard. The whale disappears. The ocean looks exactly as it did before, and you realize you have just witnessed something that was not instinct. It was knowledge. First documented by researchers in 1974, and this tradition has been observed passing continuously from mother to calf ever since. And given how deeply embedded it is in the family's behavior, it is reasonable to think it may be considerably older than that first recorded sighting. And maybe, if you have ever felt like an outsider in the place you are trying to survive, you will understand something the animals of Patagonia understood long before we gave it a name. The harshest places make the deepest roots. Before we go any further, tell me something. Drop a comment right now and let me know from where in the world you are watching this. I want to know which corner of the planet you are sitting in, because I think it will mean something to you to know that this story connects people watching from hundreds of different places all at once. From where you are to the end of the world, that is what this is. Now let us begin. Here is something that stops you cold when you truly think about it. The wind in parts of Patagonia is so constant and so powerful that trees do not grow upright. They grow sideways. Permanently bent by decades of uninterrupted force, they point east like living compass needles, leaning away from the Pacific as if trying to escape something they will never escape. That image, that single image of a tree growing sideways just to survive, tells you everything you need to know about what life demands of every creature that has chosen to call this place home. Patagonia is not a country. It is a vast, borderless idea of wildness split between the southern ends of Argentina and Chile, covering approximately 400,000 square miles of some of the most extreme, most beautiful, and most ecologically important land on the surface of this planet. To the west, the Andes Mountains rise like a spine of granite and ice, their peaks draped in glaciers that have been carving the landscape for millions of years. To the east, the land opens into the Patagonian steppe, an endless rolling semi-desert of grass and stone that stretches to the Atlantic coast with the confident silence of something that does not need to justify itself to anyone. In the south, the continent narrows to a whisper and finally surrenders to the sea at Tierra del Fuego, the land of fire, a name given by sailors who saw the fires of indigenous people burning along the shore and understood, perhaps better than anyone before them, that even at the end of the earth, something was alive. Between those extremes, Patagonia holds within itself an almost absurd variety of ecosystems. There are glaciers the size of small countries. There are fjords carved so deep and so blue they look painted. There are steppes that roll on for 200 miles without a single tree. There are temperate rainforests where moss covers everything, where the air smells of cold water and ancient wood, where the silence is so full it hums. And then there is the coast, that Atlantic coast where the cold Falklands Current sweeps northward along the continental shelf, colliding with coastal waters warmed by the shallower seabed, and the nutrient upwelling that results is an explosion of marine productivity. So rich, so dense, so extraordinary that scientists have spent their careers trying to measure it and still come away astonished. Over 500 animal species call this region home. Many of them exist nowhere else on Earth. All of them have earned their survival. None of them have had it easy. And the stories they carry in their blood, in their bones, in their behavior, in the strategies they have invented and passed down through generations to stay alive in this relentless place, those stories are why we are here. Welcome to wild Patagonia, the land of survivors at the edge of the world. The steppe comes first. It is where the story begins. From above, the Patagonian steppe looks almost empty. It is the color of dried grass and pale earth, broken by outcrops of dark volcanic rock, sliced by dry riverbeds that only carry water when the Andes finally release their snowmelt. The wind moves across it in visible waves, bending the tussock grass in long rolling pulses, as if the land itself is breathing. And if you were watching from high enough up, you might mistake this place for nothing. A gap between things. A vast empty stretch of land between the mountains and the sea. But you would be wrong, because the steppe is where the guanaco lives. And where the guanaco lives, the whole food chain comes alive. The guanaco is one of the great underappreciated animals of the natural world. Slender and elegant, standing up to 1.2 meters tall at the shoulder and weighing up to 140 kilograms. It moves through the grassland with a grace that belongs to something much older than it looks. Its coat is a warm cinnamon brown on the back, white on the belly, with a pale grey face and large, luminous eyes that have evolved to see very far and process what they see very fast. Those eyes are not there for beauty. They are there because in the open steppe, where there is no forest to hide in, where a predator can spot you from half a kilometre away and you can spot it from just a little further, speed of perception is the difference between life and death. The guanaco is a South American camelid, related to the llama and the vicuña, descended from ancestors that crossed from North America millions of years ago over what was then a land bridge. It is the ecological keystone of the Patagonian steppe. Remove the guanaco and the entire land predator system collapses. The puma starves. The condor loses its primary supply of carcasses. The foxes lose their easiest meals. The whole machine stops. Because the guanaco is not just prey, it is the currency of life in this landscape. Guanacos live in two very different social arrangements. Females and their young move in herds of up to 10 individuals, led by a dominant female. The males form larger bachelor groups, sometimes numbering in the dozens, where they spend their days grazing and practicing the art of dominance by nipping each other on the legs. It sounds almost funny until you realize it is how they prepare for the fights that will eventually determine which of them gets to mate. When a dominant male claims a herd of females, he defends them fiercely, patrolling the perimeter of his territory, confronting rivals with aggressive chest bumping and neck wrestling, making the kind of noise you would not want to hear in the dark. The newborns, called chulengos, are born in December and January, the Patagonian summer, when the grass is greenest and the threat from weather is lowest. A newborn guanaco is already walking within minutes of birth. Within hours, it is running. This is not a luxury of development. This is a survival requirement written directly into the species. Because the puma is watching. The puma is always watching. The guanaco's alarm call is one of the most distinctive sounds of the Patagonian steppe. A high, braying cry that sounds somewhere between a horse neighing and a bird screaming it is designed to carry. When one guanaco sounds the alarm, every animal within earshot snaps to attention. Heads up, ears forward. The entire herd shifts into a tight formation and begins moving, fast, away from whatever triggered the call. This is the communication network of the steppe, and the guanaco is its most important transmitter. Experienced trackers in Torres del Paine National Park say that the guanaco is the best tool for finding a puma. Not tracks, not cameras, not technology. The guanaco. Because when a puma is nearby, the guanacos know. And what the guanacos know, they tell the entire landscape. The ecological importance of the guanaco extends far beyond simply being prey. Their grazing shapes the composition of the steppe vegetation itself. When guanacos avoid certain areas out of fear of predation, those areas grow differently. The grass grows taller. Different plant species move in. The soil chemistry changes. The insects and small birds that depend on specific plant communities respond in kind. This is what ecologists call a landscape of fear. And research in other predator-prey systems suggests it is one of the most powerful invisible forces shaping an ecosystem. Based on what we observe in the guanaco's grazing behavior around areas of high puma activity, we can reasonably infer that the same dynamic operates here across the Patagonian steppe. The predator does not only shape the prey. The predator, through the fear it instills in the prey, shapes the entire land. The puma, simply by existing, is simultaneously a hunter, a farmer, and an architect. When a guanaco dies, whether taken by a puma or overcome by cold or injury, even that death serves the ecosystem. The carcass feeds the condor. It feeds the culpio fox and the grey fox. It feeds the turkey vultures, the caracaras, and dozens of smaller scavengers that orbit every death on the steppe with patient, professional interest. And what the scavengers leave behind, the bones and the last scraps of tissue, the insects will take. And what the insects produce will enrich the soil. And in the enriched soil, the grass will grow thicker and faster than in the surrounding plain. In this way, the guanaco's death, like its life, contributes to the community it was part of. There is no waste in Patagonia. There is only the endless cycling of energy through bodies and soil and air. Speak of the ghost, and it appears. The puma, known also as the mountain lion, the cougar, the ghost of the Andes, the largest land predator in all of Patagonia. A cat that ranges from the frozen tip of Tierra del Fuego all the way to Alaska, covering more of the Western Hemisphere than any other large land mammal, and yet remaining so difficult to see, so expert at invisibility that most people who spend their lives in its range die without ever catching a glimpse. Except here. Torres del Paine National Park in Chilean Patagonia has, through a combination of protected status, abundant prey, and years of careful conservation work, become the most extraordinary place on the planet to observe wild pumas. Scientists estimate that there are at least a couple of hundred pumas living in the Torres del Paine region alone. The density of this population is thought to be at least twice as high as any other known puma population in the world. What this means in practice is that in the rocky eastern steppe of the park, particularly around the golden hours of dawn and dusk, a puma encounter is not a miracle. It is almost an expectation. Female pumas in Torres del Paine weigh approximately 50 kilograms. Males can reach 80 kilograms. Their home ranges overlap, with individuals patrolling territories of up to 40 square miles. But unlike the solitary tigers of Siberia or the social lions of Africa, the puma exists in the middle ground. Primarily solitary, yes, but researchers have found that they share kills with each other more often than previously thought. Mothers raise their cubs for nearly 2 years before driving them away to establish their own territories. And the cubs are, despite belonging to one of the most efficient predators in the Americas, essentially helpless, clumsy kittens for the first several months of their lives. The puma hunts by patience and by geography. It does not chase prey in long open pursuits the way a cheetah does. It does not cooperate with a pride the way lions do. It waits, it watches, it selects. From a rocky prominence, invisible against the pale stone, a puma can survey a wide section of the steppe and observe multiple herds of guanaco for an hour or more before deciding which animal to target. It looks for weakness, the limp in the stride, the animal that lags slightly behind the herd, the young one that has strayed a little too far from the group. Once a target is selected, the puma moves. And it moves in a way that defies the size of its body, low to the ground, using every rock and bush and fold in the land to conceal its approach, closing the distance in slow, deliberate increments until it is close enough to explode. the final charge is brief and violent. The puma leaps onto the back or shoulders of the guanaco and wraps its powerful forelegs around the animal's neck, pulling the head back and biting down on the throat with crushing force. It is a calculated technique, practiced from cubhood, refined over a lifetime, and it is dangerous. A guanaco that has not yet been subdued can kick with enough force to break a puma's jaw. One famous female in Torres del Paine, known to researchers as colmillo, sustained severe damage to her teeth in a hunting accident involving a kicking guanaco. Her teeth were so badly compromised that she was left unable to hunt in the normal way for the rest of her life. This is not an unusual outcome. Patagonian pumas carry the scars of their profession. Hunting powerful prey in extreme terrain is not safe even for the hunter. When the hunt succeeds, the puma drags its kill, sometimes a guanaco that weighs nearly twice as much as itself, to a sheltered spot. It eats what it can, then covers the carcass with grass and dirt to keep it from other scavengers. But here is where the story becomes interesting, because the puma cannot hide its kill from the sky. Long before the puma has finished its first meal, the Andean condor has already noticed. From 18,000 feet in the air, riding thermal currents with a wingspan of more than 3 meters, it has watched. And now it descends. The Andean condor does not ask permission. With a wingspan reaching up to 3.3 meters, making it the widest wingspan of any land bird on the planet, and a body weight of up to 15 kilograms. The Andean condor is massive in a way that removes all doubt about its authority in the air. When one appears on a thermal above the steppe, it does not flap. It barely moves. It tilts, adjusts, and rides the invisible rivers of rising warm air the way a surfer rides a wave, effortlessly covering up to 200 kilometers in a single day of soaring without a single meaningful beat of its wings. Scientists have recorded condors going for over an hour without flapping once. The mathematics of this are extraordinary. An animal that weighs 15 kilograms can cross the entire width of a national park on nothing but the natural architecture of the atmosphere. The condor is a scavenger, and this role is more critical to the health of the Patagonian ecosystem than it is easy to appreciate. When a guanaco dies, whether killed by a puma or simply felled by the cold or disease, the body it leaves behind is not just a meal. It is a potential source of disease. Anthrax, botulism, 100 different pathogens that could devastate a population of herbivores if given time to spread through the soil and water. The condor, with its famously acidic gut capable of neutralizing bacteria that would kill most other animals, processes these carcasses rapidly, safely, and efficiently. It is a biological waste management system of extraordinary precision, and the entire Patagonian steppe benefits from its presence in ways that most people never think about. The condor's bald, featherless head and neck are not a design flaw or an accident of evolution. They are the perfect tool for a creature that must frequently plunge its entire face into a decomposing carcass. Feathers would trap bacteria and become impossible to keep clean. Bare skin, flushed with blood, is easy to clean in the sun and the wind. The condor's face even changes color with its emotional state. When it is excited or competing for position at a carcass, its neck skin flushes red. When it is calm, it fades to a duller grey. This is a communication system, a way of conveying dominance and mood without sound in a social hierarchy that is strict and predictable. At a carcass in Torres del Paine, the social order unfolds exactly the same way every time. The oldest, most dominant male lands first. He checks the situation, assesses the competition, and begins feeding. The others circle, waiting. Younger males posture, approaching and retreating in a series of elaborate body displays, spreading their wings to appear larger, lowering their heads and raising their tail feathers in complex signals that say quite clearly, "I know my place, but I am watching for when yours might become available." Eventually, the condor eats its fill, often consuming up to 7 kilograms of meat in a single sitting, and then retreats to a sunny ledge or cliff face to sit with wings spread, drying its feathers, warming itself, and processing a meal that might sustain it for the next several days without another feeding. The condor mates for life and reproduces extraordinarily slowly. A breeding pair produces a single egg every 2 years. The chick takes 6 months before it can fly, and then remains dependent on its parents for another 2 years after that. This means that the condor's population cannot recover quickly from losses, and the losses it has suffered due to persecution, habitat degradation, and accidental poisoning by ranchers using toxins to control predators have pushed it dangerously close to the edge in many parts of its range. Today, approximately 6,700 Andean condors are estimated to remain in the wild. In Patagonia, particularly around Torres del Paine and the surrounding Andean cliffs, they are still relatively visible. They soar over the park in the morning thermals, drift along the ridgelines in the afternoon, and gather in communal roosts on cliff ledges at night. Their presence overhead is one of the most reliable constants of the Patagonian sky. A reminder, every time you see one, of how ancient this ecosystem is and how much is at stake in its preservation. Below the condor, out on the open steppe where the wind never quite stops, another bird is running. The Darwin's rhea is not a bird that flies. Evolution made a different decision for this species, diverting the energy that would have gone into flight muscles into legs. Long, powerful, remarkably fast legs. An adult Darwin's rhea can reach speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour on those legs, covering the steppe in long athletic strides that make it look from a distance like some kind of oversized feathered antelope. Standing 90 to 100 centimeters tall and weighing up to 28 kilograms, it is the second largest bird in South America after the greater rhea of the northern pampas, and it is one of the most ecologically important animals in the open grasslands of Patagonia. Named after Charles Darwin, who collected a specimen during his famous voyage on the Beagle in the 1830s. The Darwin's rhea is a bird built around one of nature's most fascinating inversions of parental roles. In the rhea world, it is the male who does everything. After mating with multiple females, the male prepares the nest alone, a shallow scrape in the ground lined with grass and vegetation. The females lay their eggs directly into this nest, sometimes several females contributing to the same nest, and then they leave. They simply walk away. The male is left to incubate a clutch that can reach up to 55 eggs from multiple females in a single nest, sitting on them for 30 to 44 days, getting up only briefly to turn them and regulate their temperature. When the chicks hatch, it is the male who leads the fluffy, striped young across the steppe, defending them aggressively from any perceived threat, including approaching females and potential predators. He is father, bodyguard, and teacher all at once. Rheas and guanacos share the Patagonian steppe and have developed a remarkable cooperative relationship. They are often seen grazing side by side, and for good reason. The guanaco's excellent sense of smell pairs perfectly with the rhea's extraordinary eyesight, creating between them a surveillance system that covers nearly all sensory channels. When a puma approaches, whichever species detects it first alerts the other. In the steppe, where the wind carries scent unpredictably and visual cover is almost non-existent, this interspecies alliance is a genuine survival advantage for both. Leave the steppe now. Walk east all the way to the Atlantic coast, onto a peninsula that juts into the cold South Atlantic like a thumb pressed against the ocean, a place declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site precisely because of what happens here every year without fail, in numbers that are difficult to fully comprehend until you are standing in the middle of it. Peninsula Valdez, the wildlife capital of the Atlantic coast of Patagonia, and on its exposed, wind-battered shores, in burrows scratched into the earth beneath the dried tussock grass, a bird is arriving. The Magellanic penguin returns every September. After spending the winter months at sea, migrating as far north as the warm waters off the coast of Brazil, the adults come back to Peninsula Valdez and to nearby Punta Tombo with a single purpose. They come back to the same burrow where they previously bred successfully, and they wait for their mate. These penguins are strongly monogamous across breeding seasons, returning to the same partner year after year, and based on how consistently pairs reunite after thousands of miles of solo ocean travel, researchers believe the bond between mates may be one of the strongest orienting forces pulling an individual back to a specific location. When a male arrives and finds his mate has not yet returned from the sea, he waits. He cleans the burrow. He calls out over and over, a distinctive braying sound that carries through the colony like an announcement. And when she finally arrives, he raises his flippers wide and tips his head back in a greeting display that looks, to human eyes, very much like an embrace. At Punta Tombo alone, approximately 500,000 breeding pairs of Magellanic penguins gather every year between September and March, making it the largest Magellanic penguin colony in South America. Walking through this colony is one of the most disorienting, overwhelming, and utterly extraordinary wildlife experiences available anywhere on the planet, with thousands of burrow entrances. The air smells of salt and fish and penguin, a smell that is impossible to describe neutrally and that you will never forget once you have encountered it. Penguins are everywhere. They walk between your feet. They stand in small groups and stare at you with what can only be described as calculated indifference. They argue with their neighbors at full volume. They waddle to the ocean and back again, returning with fish-filled stomachs to feed chicks that stuff their entire heads into the parent's mouth to retrieve the regurgitated meal. The breeding cycle at the colony is precisely timed. The females arrive shortly after the males. Mating occurs, and 2 eggs are laid in October. Both parents take turns incubating the eggs in 10 to 15-day shifts. one sitting while the other goes to sea to feed. Incubation lasts 39 to 42 days. The chicks hatch in January, blind and covered in soft grey, down that will be replaced by the distinctive black and white banded adult plumage by their first autumn. Both parents feed the chicks every 2 to 3 days. By February and March, the chicks are large enough, and their waterproofed adult feathers thick enough for them to enter the sea for the first time. And then, one by one, the colony empties. By April, Peninsula Valdez falls quiet again. The burrows sit empty. The beach returns to the wind and the waves. And somewhere out there in the South Atlantic, 500,000 penguins are swimming north. The threats facing the Magellanic penguin are real and growing. Climate change has displaced the fish schools they depend on, forcing some colonies to swim up to 40 kilometers further from their nesting sites to find food. Each extra kilometer the parents must swim to feed means a longer time between feedings for the chicks. Oil spills kill approximately 20,000 adult penguins and 22,000 juveniles every year off the coast of Argentina. And the inexorable pressures of fishing competition, habitat encroachment, and warming seas are reshaping a breeding cycle that has stayed essentially unchanged for thousands of years. In just the past few decades, the population at Punta Tombo has fallen by more than 20%. These are not small numbers. These are the early measurements of a catastrophe that is still, for now, slow enough that we have time to prevent it if we choose to. Not far from the penguin colony, in the shallow, sheltered bays of Golfo Nuevo and Golfo San Jose, something even more massive is breaching the surface: the southern right whale. Approximately 1/3 of all southern hemisphere southern right whales come to Peninsula Valdez every year between June and December. That is roughly 2,000 animals in a single sheltered bay system along the coast of Patagonia, one of the highest concentrations of large whales anywhere on the planet. They come here to mate, to give birth, and to raise their calves in the calm, relatively predator-free waters of the Gulf. And the scene they create is one of the most stirring wildlife spectacles in the natural world. Southern right whales are enormous. Adults reach lengths of 14 to 17 meters and can weigh up to 80 tons. They are dark grey to black across most of their body, with large rough patches of tough skin called callosities on their heads. These callosities, which appear cream-coloured from afar due to the tiny crustaceans called whale lice that live on them, are unique to each individual, as distinctive as a human fingerprint, and researchers use them to identify and track individuals across decades of observation. The mothers and their calves at Peninsula Valdez move in a world of slow warmth. The calf, born at between 4 and 5 meters long and weighing over a ton, spends its first weeks of life learning to surface, breathe, and nurse from its mother. The mother's milk is extraordinarily rich. Cetacean milk typically runs at fat content well above 30%. Far richer than any terrestrial mammal, and the right whale's milk is believed to be in a similar range, enabling the calf to grow at a rate of several centimeters per day. By the time the mother and calf leave the protected bay in late spring to begin their migration south to feeding grounds near Antarctica, the calf will have nearly tripled in size. One of the most remarkable behaviors observed in the right whales of Peninsula Valdez is a behavior called sailing. The whale elevates its enormous flukes, its tail fins, are vertically out of the water and holds them there as the Patagonian wind catches them like a sail and pushes the animal sideways across the surface. Scientists are not entirely sure why they do this. Play seems the most likely explanation. The image of a 60-ton animal using the Patagonian wind to drift sideways across a sheltered bay, apparently for the pleasure of it, is an image that refuses to be forgotten once it has been seen. And then there are the hunters. The waters of Peninsula Valdez are also home to a small resident population of orcas. Approximately 23 individuals, organized into tight family groups under the leadership of experienced females, patrol the coastline of the peninsula year-round. But what makes the orcas of Peninsula Valdez unique in the entire world? What has made them the subject of documentary films, scientific papers, and the kind of hushed, reverent attention that travelers cross continents to witness is a single behavior. A hunting technique so dangerous, so innovative, and so culturally transmitted that it challenges everything we used to think we knew about the boundary between animal instinct and animal culture. Intentional stranding. In the waters off Punta Norte, on the northern tip of Peninsula Valdez, the orcas have learned across generations of teaching and practice to launch themselves completely out of the water and onto the beach in order to seize sea lion pups playing in the surf. This behavior was first observed and documented by researchers in 1974. The first animals to master the technique were two males named Bernardo and Mel. They taught it to other members of their family. Those animals taught it to the next generation. Today, the technique is passed from mother to calf in a form of cultural transmission that is, by any reasonable definition, teaching. The hunt itself is terrifying in its elegance. The orca positions itself in the shallow water of a specific 50-meter stretch of coast at Punta Norte, a place the locals call the attack channel. It waits for the tide to reach its peak when the water is high enough to carry it close to the beach. It watches, using its sophisticated echolocation, tracking the movements of the sea lion pups in the turbid water and on the wet sand just above the surf line. The pups are young. They are curious. They have not yet learned to be afraid. And then, in a burst of speed that carries a body weighing up to 6,000 kilograms forward on the face of a wave, the animal slides entirely out of the sea and onto dry beach, seizes the pup in its jaws, and then, using the power of its own body twisting and rolling, works itself back into the water before the next wave arrives. The window for this maneuver is precisely timed. The orca must execute the entire thing within approximately 3 hours on either side of the high tide. Too early, and the water does not reach far enough up the beach. Too late, and the receding tide leaves the animal stranded in shallow water where it cannot right itself. Getting it wrong could mean dying. And this is not a hypothetical risk. Stranding is genuinely dangerous for an orca, and the younger animals in the family, still learning the technique from their mothers and aunts, make mistakes. They slide too far onto the beach. They cannot roll back. And the older females, the matriarchs who know this beach better than anything alive, will sometimes physically push a stranded juvenile back into deeper water, nudging it with their bodies, refusing to leave until the animal is safe. The success rate of these hunts is not guaranteed. For an experienced adult female, of the probability of catching a sea lion pup in a single stranding attempt is just over 50%. For a juvenile still learning, it is considerably lower. But the reward justifies the risk. A single sea lion pup provides enough nutrition to sustain an orca for several days. And during the narrow season, when pups are small and plentiful enough to be caught this way, every successful hunt adds to the family's survival margin for the leaner months ahead. It is worth pausing on the fact that this is not an inherited behavior. It is not encoded in the genes of these animals the way migration patterns might be. It is learned, taught, practiced, and refined across generations. Inland again. Back to the steppe and the scrubland, where smaller creatures conduct their own version of the drama. The Patagonian mara does not look like it belongs. A rodent the size of a small deer, standing about 45 centimeters at the shoulder and weighing up to 12 kilograms. The mara has long, slender legs built for running and an alert, somewhat comical expression that makes it look constantly startled by its own existence. It is endemic to Argentina, found nowhere else on Earth, and it has solved the open grassland survival problem by being both very fast and very social. Maras live in monogamous pairs that stay together for life, but they raise their pups in communal creches shared by multiple pairs, sometimes as many as a dozen or more families using the same shared space simultaneously. The pups from all these families are kept together, and the adults take turns keeping watch while the others go off to graze. It is a cooperative childcare arrangement that reduces the time each individual must spend on vigilance, freeing up more time for eating, which in a semi-arid grassland is never quite enough. The Culpeo fox, Patagonia's largest native fox, watches the mara with professional interest. It also watches the penguin colonies, the rhea nests, and anything else small enough to catch and worth the energy of catching. The Culpeo is Patagonia's most opportunistic predator after the puma, taking rodents, hares, birds, lizards, insects, and the eggs of ground-nesting species with equal enthusiasm and very little moral concern. It hunts primarily at dawn and dusk, using its excellent hearing and sharp nose to locate prey it cannot see in the dense scrubland. And it is everywhere. Drive any road in the Patagonian steppe for more than an hour, and you will see a Culpeo, often several. They watch passing vehicles from a confident distance with their distinctive amber eyes and long, thick tails held low, looking like something between a domesticated dog and a very clever wolf that decided to set its own rules. The grey fox, smaller and shyer, occupies a similar niche, but operates more in the marginal zones between steppe and forest, taking smaller prey and avoiding direct competition with its larger cousin. Together, these two fox species form a crucial middle tier in the Patagonian food web, controlling rodent populations, dispersing seeds in their feces, and providing a source of food for the condor and occasional puma kill when they themselves are caught unaware. The puma and the guanaco, the condor and the rhea, the penguin and the orca and the whale. All of it exists within the frame of one of the most dramatic seasonal cycles in the southern hemisphere. Patagonian summer lasts a matter of months. From November through February, the steppe is green enough to feed enormous herds. The beaches bustle with life. The glaciers reflect the long austral evenings in brilliant blue, and the wind, while never truly absent, is at least sometimes gentle. During these months, the wildlife of Patagonia is at its most visible. Guanaco calves wobble through the grassland on impossibly thin legs. Puma cubs emerge from their rocky den sites and begin the long, playful education of becoming hunters. The penguin colonies roar with the noise of 500,000 birds conducting the business of reproduction all at once. The right whale calves breach in the sheltered bays, testing their bodies against the resistance of the water, growing stronger with every jump. And then the seasons turn. By March, the wind sharpens. The temperatures begin to drop. The Andes begin to reclaim their snowpack, and the steppe turns from gold to brown to a pale, exhausted grey. The penguins leave. The whales move south. The calves born in the spring are now 3 or 4 months old, and the education they received in those first warm months will now be tested by cold they have never felt before. Patagonian winter is not gentle. In the high steppe and the Andean foothills, temperatures can drop to -20 degrees Celsius. Snow blankets the high ground. The wind, the famous Patagonian wind, reaches velocities above 100 kilometers per hour for days at a time. Animals that cannot migrate must endure or die. The guanaco herds contract, moving to lower elevations where the snow is shallower and the grass is easier to reach. The puma follows, because the puma always follows the guanaco. The condor descends from the highest peaks to the lower valleys where winter kills leave the greatest abundance of carcasses. The foxes dig deeper, range wider, and become slightly more desperate in their opportunism. But it is the glaciers that tell the deepest story of what Patagonia is and what it is becoming. The southern Patagonian icefield is the third largest reserve of fresh water outside the polar regions. It feeds hundreds of rivers, sustains thousands of ecosystems, regulates the flow of nutrients into the coastal ocean, and has shaped every landform in southern Patagonia through the slow, grinding, patient work of glacial advance and retreat over millions of years. Torres del Paine itself, those 3 legendary granite towers that rise above the steppe like the remnants of a cathedral, are the result of glacial erosion removing the softer rock that once surrounded and concealed them. And those glaciers are retreating. Not slowly, not theoretically, but measurably, visibly, dramatically. Grey Glacier in Torres del Paine has lost significant length in recent decades. The Perito Moreno Glacier in Argentina, famously one of the few glaciers in the world still in a rough dynamic balance, periodically advancing and carving in dramatic cycles, is showing signs that even this equilibrium may be under increasing stress as regional temperatures rise. In 2023, scientists from the World Glacier Monitoring Service reported that Swiss glaciers, comparable to those in Patagonia in their sensitivity to temperature change, lost 6% of their total ice volume in a single year. The same forces are at work here, at the bottom of the world. And the consequences flow downstream in every direction. When glaciers retreat, the rivers they feed run lower in summer and higher in winter, disrupting the seasonal patterns that plants and animals have synchronized their entire life cycles to. Salmon runs change, spawning grounds shift, vegetation moves uphill in search of the cold it needs. And the animals that depend on that vegetation move with it or fail to adapt. The guanaco's migratory routes, established over thousands of years, are being disrupted by the changing timing and extent of snowpack. The penguin's fish are following warming currents northward, away from the breeding colonies that were established based on where the food used to be. The entire ecosystem is receiving a signal that it was not designed to interpret. There is something deeply unsettling about watching a glacier retreat, not just because of what it means for the water table or for the species that depend on glacial meltwater, but because of what a glacier is. It is time made solid. It is thousands of years of snowfall compressed into ice that moves through the landscape at the pace of geological patience. When it melts, and it does not just lose volume, it loses memory. The ice at the base of the Patagonian glaciers fell as snow centuries ago, compressed slowly under the weight of everything that fell after it, and is now making its final journey to the sea. That journey was supposed to take centuries more. We have shortened it by decades in the span of a single human lifetime. This is not a problem that will be solved by one conservation project or one protected park. It is a problem of the entire planet choosing collectively how much it is willing to let burn before it decides to stop burning. But Patagonia itself has not given up, and neither have the people who have chosen to make its protection their life's work. The Puma hunting ban in Chile, enacted in 1980, saved a species that was approaching local extinction in many parts of the Andean south. Today, that same puma is the subject of international documentary films, the center of a thriving wildlife tourism industry, and the protagonist of active scientific research programs that are expanding what we know about felid behavior, social structure, and ecosystem function. Torres del Paine now receives hundreds of thousands of visitors every year who come, in significant part, to see this animal that was nearly eliminated within living memory. And the money those visitors bring supports the conservation infrastructure that protects not just the puma. The penguin colonies at Punta Tombo and Peninsula Valdez are protected, monitored, and managed for the balance between ecotourism access and wildlife welfare. The southern right whale, which was hunted to near extinction in the 19th century, has recovered to a population where Peninsula Valdez now hosts over 1,000 individuals during the breeding season, an outcome that would have seemed impossible to the whalers who gutted the species in the South Atlantic 2 centuries ago. Conservation, when it is funded and enforced and embedded in the culture of the people who live alongside the wildlife, works. It is not fast, it is not easy, but it works. The orcas of Punta Norte are still teaching their calves the beach hunt, passing knowledge down through a cultural tradition that has outlasted multiple human generations of observers. The condors still soar over the morning steppe, reading the landscape with eyes that see further than ours. The guanaco herds still graze the golden grasslands at the foot of the Andes, and somewhere in the rocks above them, something with amber eyes and tawny fur and a lifetime of perfected patience is watching. Patagonia endures because it is made of creatures that understand in the deepest cellular way what endurance demands. Everything here has been tested. The wind has tested it. The cold has tested it. The scarcity of certain seasons and the violent abundance of others has tested it. And what has survived is not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most aggressive. What has survived is the most precisely, brilliantly, ingeniously adapted. The animal that found the strategy that worked in this particular place with these particular constraints and passed it on. That is the miracle of Patagonia. Not that anything is easy here, but that so much is possible despite how hard it is. The tree grows sideways because that is the only direction the wind permits. And it grows, and it lives, and it has been growing and living for 100 years. And the roots it puts down into that rocky soil are deeper and more tenacious than anything you would find in a gentler landscape. And maybe that is true of all of us in our own way. The harshest places make the deepest roots. From the ghost Puma stepping silently through the golden evening steppe to the Condor riding a thermal above the towers of granite, to the Orca teaching its calf the most dangerous hunting technique in the ocean, from the penguin returning across 1,000 miles of open sea to the exact burrow where love and family wait, to the southern right whale lifting its tail like a sail in the sheltered bay at the edge of the world. Patagonia is not just a place, it is a testament. A testament to what life looks like when it is given enough space, enough respect, and enough time. If this journey left you with something, a feeling, a thought, a name of a creature that you want to follow further, a question about a place you have never seen, drop it in the comments. The stories of this wild world are too large for any one person to carry alone. Share them.